Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today, we are diving into the book, The Money Reset. Take control of your money and your life. We're unpacking Gemma Mitchell's blueprint for financial resilience. And let me tell you, this framework is a real game changer. It's going to completely change how you view your bank accounts, especially if you're, currently navigating a major life transition and just really need a new path forward.
So let's start by acknowledging a pretty hard truth. When a major life disruption hits, say an unexpected job loss, a divorce, or a sudden illness, your finances are usually the very first thing to take the hit, right? It's a massive shock to your nervous system. Suddenly, you're staring down a completely different reality than the one you painstakingly planned for. And here's the kicker. The traditional advice you were following before the crisis, it just doesn't apply anymore. The strategies that worked perfectly for you yesterday simply aren't going to work for you today. And that means we need a totally fresh, compassionate approach to your money.
To navigate that new reality, we're breaking down Mitchell's recovery playbook into 5 key sections. First, the financial plot twist. Next, Phase 1, stabilization. Then, Phase 2, strategy. Followed by Phase 3, protection. And finally, why we should prioritize flexibility over freedom.
All right, Section 1, the financial plot twist, rethinking the starting line.
Typical finance guides often push for extreme FIRE, financial independence, retire early, or they hand you this aggressive wealth-building manual. But when you're right in the middle of a crisis, those massive goals, they're incredibly alienating. So the absolute core shift you need to make right from the jump is replacing financial shame with radical self-compassion. If you've been hiding from your bank accounts out of self-criticism, we've got to stop that. You have to start viewing your current situation not as a personal failure, but simply as your starting line data. Whether your account is overdrawn or just severely depleted, it's just neutral information. It's merely a snapshot of where you are today and nothing more. What makes this explainer's approach so uniquely empowering is its total adaptability to your nervous system. Mitchell designed this framework to perfectly fit your current stress levels. Like, if you have the energy and mental bandwidth, you can tackle the upcoming steps over a fast 12 days. But if you're overwhelmed, grieving, or just exhausted, you can stretch it out to 12 weeks or even 12 months. The overarching rule here is that progress beats perfection every single time. Taking one tiny, manageable step a month is infinitely better than freezing up, panicking, and doing absolutely nothing.
Okay, Section 2, Phase 1, stabilization, securing your foundation.
Here's the thing. You absolutely cannot strategize if you're actively panicking. That's why psychological control must come before financial mechanics. Step 1 is taking stock, facing the numbers without judgment, just like we talked about. Step 2 is building your immediate safety net. This is a starter $1,000 OMG fund. Now, this isn't a full emergency fund yet. It's just a tiny buffer to catch those immediate unexpected, flat tires, or random medical bills so they don't spiral you into credit card debt. But step 3, your money mindset, well, that's where the hardest work happens. You have to actively unpack your emotional triggers and unlearn those limiting beliefs. Like the ingrained idea that I'm just bad with money. You've got to clear that out before you can successfully tackle the math. Moving on to Section 3, Phase 2, strategy, navigating cash flow and debt. So with a clear head and a starter safety net securely under you, we can actually start designing a cash flow plan tailored to your current reality. Not the life you had last year, but the new you. Notice how this sequence strongly emphasizes boosting your income rather than just guilt-tripping you into cutting out your daily coffee. First, you reset your goals for the short term. Next, you map out a realistic budget. Then, you actively look at side income or career moves to grow your wealth. Let's be real, you can only cut so many expenses before your quality of life drops to zero. But your earning potential, that can scale infinitely. It's only after pulling those new earning levers that you double down on eliminating your debt. Now, a major hurdle for freelancers, gig workers, and really anyone earning commission is irregular income. How do you budget when you don't even know what you'll make? Mitchell solves this beautifully with what she calls the baseline income strategy. By treating your absolute lowest typical earning month as your true baseline for budgeting, you ensure that your non-negotiable living costs, rent, groceries, basic utilities, are always covered. Any money made above that baseline during a good month just becomes a bonus to accelerate your debt payoff or savings goals. This removes a massive layer of day-to-day anxiety simply because you know the essentials are protected. And when it comes to actually eliminating that debt, she reminds us that psychology often beats math in real life. Yes, the avalanche method is mathematically efficient because it targets high-interest debt first, sure, but the snowball method, where you pay off the absolute smallest debt first, regardless of the interest rate, is just a deeply powerful tool. It gives you an immediate psychological dopamine hit. Seeing a debt balance actually hit zero builds rapid momentum and confidence, especially when you might otherwise feel totally overwhelmed by the big picture.
All right, Section 4, Phase 3, Protection, Safeguarding the Future. Once your strategy is executing and that momentum is building, it's time to build long-term resilience so the next plot twist doesn't completely derail you all over again. This phase ensures your wealth tools are actively working to protect your new life. This means mapping out your property path, optimizing your retirement savings or superannuation fees depending on where you live, and setting up binding legal protections like wills and insurance policies. It's all about building an unbreakable fortress around the hard work you've just done in the stabilization and strategy phases.
And that brings us to Section 5, Flexibility over Freedom, the Ultimate Goal. You see, the traditional end goal of personal finance really needs a massive rewrite for anyone who has survived a major life transition. Pursuing aggressive financial freedom right after a crisis, that's heavily intimidating. It's a rigid concept that often demands millions of dollars in the bank just to feel secure. Shifting your focus instead to financial flexibility offers a much more realistic, compassionate path forward. It's about building an adaptable, manageable baseline that leads to an achievable state of daily calm, rather than stressing over some impossible mountain of wealth. Ultimately, your financial success shouldn't be measured by society's expectations or even by a specific dollar amount in your portfolio. It should be measured by whether your financial systems pass this simple, empowering test, the sleep at night test. Ask yourself, do you have enough control over your baseline numbers to adapt to life's changing seasons without panicking? If you can answer yes to that question, you haven't just recovered from your plot twist, you've achieved true financial flexibility. As you think about how to turn your own life disruption into a slingshot forward, consider your baseline data today. What is one tiny, manageable step you can take right now to regain control? Remember, we're aiming for progress over perfection. So dive into those numbers without judgment and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.